Kilo Delta. Oh, hold on a second. I got a bobo here. I got you, Kilo Delta 4. Stand by. K1GMM, Vermont. Okay, let's try this again. Still not right. Still not right. Stand by. Okay, let's try this. Kilo Delta 4. Kilo Delta 4. I think it's Yankee Alpha Lima. How copy? Kilo 1 Golf Mike K1GMM, Southwest Vermont.
K1GMM. This is KD4YAL. It's fantastic sounding audio there. My God, man. I love the deep sound. You got a nice, real nice bass to that thing. Just rumbling shack here. Sound fantastic. You've got Jerry here in Clearwater, Florida, and nice signal. Your signal is about 20 over, so really fantastic job into Clearwater this morning. Back to you.
Oh, very nice, Jerry. Yeah, you're plowing in here, easily 10 over. Really great signal. And let me know if it's too much. I did some testing, set it up kind of the way. Let me know if there's enough mid-range and top end, because I can. That's a good enough signal, you'll know. So I can make a couple changes if I need to. Let me see if I'm on the right. Yeah, should be. Yeah, I had a bunch of things, Jerry. I had to change over. I was on sideband. I'm running a Sun SDR2 DX. And just in the past couple of weeks, I've been kind of fussing with setting it up, getting it going on AM. But if it's a little bit too much, I can get that out of there. So let me know. I did try to set it up through. I have an HF Plus here that I run on console. You know, put the rig into a dummy load and blah blah blah. Pick it up on a vertical end-fed diversity antenna out front and check things out. So if it's too heavy, I can fix that. Anyways, yeah, great to hear you. I've been kind of shooting. I've been down below on 10 meters on sideband. I haven't worked anybody. I've just been poking around. I keep coming up here, so I've been thinking about throwing out a call, and glad you did. KD4YAL, K1GMM. And by the way, I'm up here west side of the state of Vermont. Over.
QSL. Do you go by Steve or Steven?
Yeah, you can call me anything you want. Steve is fine. It's no problem.
All right there, Steve. Well, I'm sure you hear this quite a bit, but man, I've seen a ton of your videos. Definitely admire what you've been doing there with ESB, extended sideband, and only been playing with audio here for maybe about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, but definitely been overlooking your shoulder there and seeing what you've been doing there on YouTube, and I've watched just a ton of your videos there. So to hear you in person,
sorry about that, guys.
Doesn't
get on the headphones.
Do those YouTube videos justice. I tell you, you sound absolutely fabulous. I wouldn't change anything. And this end, I'm running a Hermes Lite 2, kind of my first taste in the SDR realm. my daily driver is a 101D. I've had this Hermes for about 3 months, and so far I like it. I definitely see a Flex or a G2 in my future. Really enjoyed playing with this. It's been a good learning experience. Running for audio here, I'm running a Heil PR40 mic into a Behringer Sonic Exciter and UR6 QW EQ. Try to keep it simple because I share it with all the rigs here. Try to keep the profile fairly similar so that I can just switch between radios as needed there. Back to you, Steve. KD4YAL.
All righty. Well, good. I'm going to interrogate you. Thanks for sharing your WC. And those boxes, I keep forgetting what they are. There's a couple of them, right? There's the IHY box. I think the one you have, that's the Ukrainian box, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Boy, I'll tell you what, man, those things are so effective. I'm actually recording this. I always have OBS on standby. It's just sitting over here on the screen, just idling. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger. It sounds awesome. And I was going to ask you what you were running. Really quick, do you run? Is it recommended to run pure signal on the Hermes or the Anons when you're on AM? I've never gotten a definitive answer on that, or isn't that even possible? I don't know. Go ahead.
So right now I'm not. Usually I have a RFK2S in line, and it was rather unhappy with me here a couple of weeks ago and lost an LD Moss, and it's actually on its way back from Island Amplifiers. Sean took care of me and got it all fixed back up. So I'm on my small little Mercury 3, which doesn't have a sampler on it. So I did get a sampler ordered, but it'll be interesting to see whether the RF2KS arrives before the sampler does from Australia, from DK Amps. But I've run it in the past, and it seemed like it was working. You know, the IMD was way down and performed like it did on single sideband. So I haven't had anything, any negative artifacts or anything that I could say that prevented it from not working on AM. Steve, go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. The reason why I ask is because I thought, well, I sold the 200, and I'm thinking, boy, I don't spend a lot of time on AM, and I don't want to invest a lot of money into a system for AM. So I've got a PW1 here. Let me shut up for a second. Hang on. Okay, so I'm pushing about 40 to 50 watts on the carrier, and I'm modulating to, I just flipped the meter over. So it's about just under 300 watts going out of the PW1. And see, a Hermes would drive this easily. So let me see what I'm putting out. So, gosh, dude, I'm putting out next to nothing to tickle this PW1 into that state. So Hermes would do it. That's why I was thinking, boy, bang for the buck. I'm actually debating it. picking up a Hermes and just use it on AM, because it would drive this PW1 no problem. I don't push hardly ever more than this. Maybe very rarely do I go above 50 watts on the carrier. and it works okay. You know, I rely on the propagation, I guess, right? Um, yeah, so I don't know. How has it been for you? You said you had it, what, about 3 months? I think you said something like that. Was it a bear to get going, or was it, and is it pretty stable for you? Uh, KD4YAL K1GMM.
K1GMM, this is KD4YAL. So, actually, it was a piece of cake. For me, the learning curve is really with the software. The kit was, for me, was three components, an I/O board for the headphones and mic and PTT, and the low pass filter. And I mean, it really consisted of drilling a hole in a box, putting a bolt through, and plugging it together. I mean, it was half an hour setup time. It was really pretty basic, but the software was a different story. Getting the firmware up to date, and that was a little bit of a challenge, but not bad. But some of you guys that have been running SDR, for years, I mean, it's all probably almost a no-brainer. Some of the tricks with, getting the audio set up and going through all your settings and get your audio profile set up. To me, that was all new. Using my FTDX 101, it was just kind of learning how to set up the parametric EQ and going through the menu settings, and away I went. So it was a bit of a challenge. I'm pretty good with software, so that helped, and helped the learning curve there a bit. But yeah, it was pretty easy. And for the investment, I think I got $375 total into it. Had a lot of the stuff I needed here in the shack, and it was definitely worth the investment to see if SDR was right for me. And like I said, it's definitely a direction I'm going to continue moving towards. I'm not sure whether it'll be a Flex or a G2, but I definitely see one in my future there. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, Roger, K1GMM. Do you? I agree with you. I think for the money, anybody who wants to dip their toe into the SDR realm, it's great. I mean, you look at the cost of that. Of course, you're talking. If you don't have a linear amplifier, you can rectify that with, I can't remember if the amplifier guys run. You know what it is. It's just a little brick. There seems to be a popular one I hear you guys talk about. Just a lot of them use it as an exciter, a midpoint exciter, I guess you'd call it, right? Before they hit a high drive linear. But I mean, if you wanted to run 100 watts on that thing, it's still very inexpensive, right? I think they have 100, 150 watt bricks or something, HF bricks, that guys run on those that will do it for not a lot of money, from what I understand, right? Over?
Yeah, K1GMM, this is KD4YAL. So that's correct. I'm using a little 50 watt exciter as a driver into the Mercury. I'm putting a 1 watt into the micro PA50. It's giving me about 15 watts, and I'm probably, my final output on the Mercury is about 430 right now, so that's not bad. And a full 5 watts with the Mercury gives me just under 200. So with the Mercury there, I can practically run just the Hermes, and it does a really good job on AM here on 10 meters. So the band's been just absolutely fantastic the last year and a half or so. So I can work Europe with 200 watts there, no problem there. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm tweaking here. I'm tweaking. Stand by. Um, Let me grab this. So complicated, Jerry. Good Lord. Hang on. All righty. So it looks like, yep, there we go. Okay, it looks like I'm out to 12. Looks like you're running about 12. So I just stretched out the receive. And let me check my drive because that popped up different. So hopefully you can still hear. Yeah, it's a little bit lower. So that's about where it was. I was going to ask you, well, you sort of answered the question. I stumbled upon some videos on YouTube. YouTube's great, isn't it? That's where I kind of go and get a lot of information. But, looking at, there's a guy over in the UK, he does some AM stuff on, I think it's here on 10 meters. So that's what got me thinking today. I thought, well, let me go up above 2,900 and see if there's any activity, and FM as well. I see. I was just watching a guy doing some FM. What is that, up around 29.5, 29.6, or somewhere up here on YouTube. And I thought, dang, this is my first time on anything but sideband on 10 meters ever. So my question is, do you see a lot of activity? Like when you get in here and call CQ, do you have guys come back from Europe and stuff like that on AM? Go ahead.
Absolutely, Steve. There's quite a few guys over in Europe. John G3YB he's in here almost daily, and there's quite a few guys around the states. I talked to WT1H yesterday on AM. He's running a Flex 6600. Man, he was one of the first stations I've heard that, is at your level as far as audio. I mean, he just sounded fantastic. And it's awesome to hear that's, a little bit of bass, just really smooth audio. That's really been a lot of fun here this past year or so. And I think that's what caught my attention. Just this past summer, me and a friend of mine were experimenting on FM just above here. And as I was tuning down the band, I heard some guys talking on some of their old Collins and listening to some of the stories and just hearing how well they sounded on AM. I thought, man, that's really cool. I've got to try that. So I've been hooked ever since, and been playing around here since summer. And I've met a lot of fantastic people. In fact, it was really cool to meet with you there today, Steve. Go ahead.
Hey, the pleasure is all this side because this is an education for me, and I don't mind admitting that. This is quite fascinating. You ever go through periods where you get kind of stale? That's where I've been since, for the past year, for about a year. It started in December and really didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. Kind of wrapped everything up. I have no interest really in the audio stuff anymore. I know how to make it work. I presented everything I possibly could present. I just don't know where else I could go with it. I still get emails from people asking questions, but it's all stuff that's been answered, multiple times, oftentimes over and over and over. So what do I do? I still do some sideband stuff, but I'm always and this started the past 2 weeks. It's really funny, Jerry. Something happened where, I don't know. I can't even explain it. Just got interested in AM and then stumbling upon the shorties, the shorter wavelengths, AM on the shorties. Yeah, this is cool. I like this. Because, generally, if you're on 40, 40 is a zoo, right? That's usually a complete zoo up here. Big groups, and I'm not really a big group kind of guy. I will do more listening than yapping. I know it's hard to believe, right? The bloviator in chief. But I'm more interested in having a high quality QSO. If there's 2 or 3, 4 people in it, fine. I'm cool with that. But you won't find me in big groups too often. It's not my wheelhouse. I'm not interested in it. Of course, I'm not very technically proficient when it comes to electronics. And a lot of the guys in AM, boy, they are electronics gurus, man. They build all their own stuff. You've seen this, right? And I always call it cheating. And they say, no, what you're doing isn't cheating. I said, it sure is, man, because I know nothing compared to what you guys know. You guys, I've seen some and talked to some guys that do truly amazing things with their rigs, old rigs. Some of them sound like total crap, and I can barely listen to it. I tolerate it. But there's a few that I've heard that are truly stunning to listen to. And boy, I'll tell you, they got it going on. KD4YAL, K1GMM.
K1GMM, this is KD4YAL. Yeah, it's, I guess that's part of it. I'm second generation ham. My dad was like that. He was into building everything. There was no store-bought nothing. It was, unless it was a Heath kid or, a kid or something. But growing up over his shoulder, I'm kind of more plug and play type guy. I didn't really get into the electronic side of it like my dad did. And my mom has always called it a disease, because we go hot and heavy there for a while, and then you might lose interest for a while, and then you get bit again, and it just becomes this disease that we just can't get rid of. We can walk away for a short amount of time, but for some reason, you always fall back into that trap and buying more radios and mics and EQs and amplifiers. It's antennas. It's just never ending there. And I guess that's just part of it. I've really enjoyed AM on 10 meters. Met just a ton of fantastic people up here. I haven't tried 40 or 80 as of yet, believe it or not. I don't know. Maybe it's like you said, I'm just kind of a bit shy. Something new. I've listened to some of the nets on 80. Like there's a net on Sundays. I've gone down there and listened to that a few times, but haven't actually checked in there yet, Steve. K1GMM, this is KD4YAL.
Yeah, that's the, I was just listening to that a week ago today. What's that? The military net, right? The military, what do they call that? You know what I'm talking about. That's what you're referring to, right? I think it's 3785, correct?
No, I believe this was up around 3880 something. Who was hosting that? I think it was Robert. I can't remember his prefix, but it's voice modulated carrier is the suffix. And he was actually hosting the net. It was a pretty good net. Had a pretty good turnout. And it was late at night, or later after dark. So had quite a few check-ins from all over the Northeast there. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm crazy. I meant 3885. Yeah, it's up around 3800. Yeah, you're you're right. See, I'm crazy, dude. You know that. Little off the rails. No, this is really fascinating. I've seen guys work AM online. I've never tried it, and I never looked for it on 15 meters. Have you done any work on 15 as well? Go ahead.
I've gone down and listened to him. I followed John G3YPZ down there while he was talking to another guy up in your part of the country a few weeks ago, just to see if I could hear him. 15, all I have up is a wire. So, I mean, it does okay. Yeah, but it's not like I'm a powerhouse. I could be a powerhouse here on 10. I've got a 5-element mono band with perfect SWR up in this range. So that Yagi really does a good job here on 10 meters. K1 GMM KD4YAL.
Yeah, gotcha. A little bit. Well, if you followed the channel, you know what happened here. And I can't remember what you said. What are you running? Just 100 watts? Because yeah, there's some really steep QSB, so I'm sure you're seeing it on me as well. But yeah, I'm just running a BKW. What I noticed about this is it's got teeth. It definitely works well, but it seems to be a little deaf. Very odd. Excuse me. I had a miniature. The only way I can describe it, it was a miniature BKW, exact same length of 450, but it was only 11.9 feet per leg and covered 17 through 10. And that was the same way. Had tremendous amount of teeth. Like ridiculous. The antenna worked incredibly well, like a freaking beam. Of course, it wasn't directional, but thing was savage, you know. And but it was way down on receive, and it just seems like this antenna is exactly the same. I don't know if it's an inherent trait of a BKW, but I always think to myself, well, you know, because I had 2-element loops up on 40 and 20. And good Lord, 40 meters. Now, I don't have the receive on 40 that I had with the 2-element loops, but I'll tell you what, this thing will rip someone a new you-know-what. I'm like, on mosquito power, I'm like 25 over into Ontario. And I was rarely 25 over, even on 400 watts on the 2-element loops. Now, it could be because they were just directional enough that Ontario was sitting in the lull, you know, or in a null on the antenna array. Possible. That's kind of what I chalk it up to be, you know. But it almost makes me want to find an antenna that, you know, some kind of receive system that will really ramp it up. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever came across an antenna like that before. It is very strange. Go ahead, K1 GMM.
K1 GMM, this is KD4YAL. Yeah, I got not a lot of room, but enough for my antenna farm here. And I'm not HOA restricted here. So wires seem to be the easiest and quickest thing to put up and play around with. But that 5-element Yagi on 10, I've really enjoyed working 10. The last 2 years, 10 has just really been fantastic. Can work the entire Asian coastline at night, all, you know, from Arctic Russia all the way down into New Zealand. So for DX and on phone, 10 has really been fantastic. Been able to work India early mornings, and so that Yagi's really done a fantastic job for me. It's a bit in the, you know, much in the wind for when a storm passes through, which we seem to have quite regularly here in Florida. But outside of that, I'm real happy with the performance the Yagi's provided for me. And the lower bands, 80 and 40, the wire seems to be more than adequate. But 15 and 20. I think it comes up just a bit short. K1GMM KD4YL.
Huh. Yeah. It's all about finding the magic bullet, isn't it? How many antennas did you go through? Well, you said this is your what, second foray into the hobby? So I take it you took a little respite there. And you mentioned something earlier, which I chuckled to myself because it's a disease. This is a disease, man. I often thought about starting a group called HRA, Ham Radio Anonymous, and developing a 12-step program, not to cure the disease or put the disease into remission or under control, but to exacerbate the disease. First step is acknowledging that you have a problem. The second step is realizing that it's actually no problem at all. I can't remember. I had all the other steps laid out, So every time I hear someone say that, I laugh because it is. I know the way I am and the way I've been. And oh yeah, it's a demented, twisted disease. And it drives the YLs and XYLs completely insane at times. My wife is insanely tolerant. But anyways, enough of that. How many antennas did you go through until you settled on that one? Just curious. Because I always say, what works for me may not work for you. People want to know what I ran in the past. And I say, well, these antennas are very unique. It took me years to figure out what would work from this QTH, because it is a weird one. It's not very RF friendly. So running low angle DX radiating antennas does me absolutely no good here. None whatsoever. I need something that gives me 30 plus degrees elevation angle to get over the top of Baker Peak in the Appalachians, which is right across the street. So I'm always interested in that. Have you tried a hex beam or anything else there? KD4YAL, K1GMM. Hopefully you still copy. Over.
Yeah, K1GMM. This is KD4YL. Yeah, a little bit lighter than you were, about 9 over that time, but still 100% readable there, Steve. So if you need me to, I can bump the power up there a little bit. In fact, I'll just go ahead and bump it up a little bit. I've tried several homemade Yagis prior to this one, 3 and 4 elements, but this is the first 5 element, and it's shortened boom, so it fits rather well on the side of the lot where I've started my antenna farm. And it's just above my dipole, so I don't seem to have any negative reaction from the wire antennas. And so it's like my 3rd or 4th generation of antennas for 10 meters. And I don't know what attracts me to 10 meters, but I really enjoy working 10 meter phone, single sideband, or FT8, and now AM. I've tried FM, but I don't know, there just wasn't the interest there. I don't know, it just didn't seem challenging enough, or didn't like the, I don't know, I think the audio is kind of compromised. Or, like you, I've spent quite a bit of time tinkering and actually wanting to sound good. So I'm not willing to compromise that with FM. K1GMM, this is KD4YL.
You put so much work into it, right? That's something that I have struggled with. If I'm on sideband, believe it or not now, I don't work hardly ever wider than 3K anymore. I know this is, and I would never tell people to do what I do. But I just kind of moved into this place where I set up a DX profile and I will sit there and rag chew with people on the DX profile. And it's a pretty shaved profile, man. It's pretty smooth. It's not garish, it's not brittle, and it's not harsh, but it's flat. And everything below like 125 hertz is gone, rolled completely off. It doesn't exist. And I've just gotten to the point, Jerry, where I just want it simple, you know? And one of the things I found, because I used to spend a lot of time on 40 and I don't anymore, is you get a lot, you know, let's say I'm in a round table and the guys are running, you know, pretty bombastic audio, right? And they're out wider than 3, let's say 3.3 to 3.6, 4 kilohertz. And what happens is you attract, there's a lot of shenanigans that goes on 40 up here. A lot of jammers and stuff like that. And I've gotten so sick of it that I don't even frequent 40 hardly ever anymore. Very rarely. Once in a while, I'll jump in on 7160, 63, and I'll touch base with a couple friends of mine, few of the guys up in Ontario, you know, but I just don't run that anymore. And this is where the AM is really cool. And I think that's why I kind of made the shift subconsciously, you know. This allows me to run, I don't know what you call it, broadcast quality audio in a very wide bandwidth, well, reasonably wide, and have some fun and be left alone, because that's what this is for. You kind of see where I'm going. I'm a lightning rod. And I know there's other guys as well that play this game. They are lightning rods, and every jackrabbit cheese whacker comes out of the woodwork to cause problems. And that's what I've kind of regressed back into a much narrower bandwidth with an average sounding station. Still sounds good, but you know, it's not like what we got going on here. Over.
Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, we all hear it. I use for sideband. I've got a 3K and a 4K. I prefer my 4K, obviously. And you know, if they're stowing around, and you know, that's one of the nice things about 10 is there's still plenty of space. You know, it gets busy at times, but you know, if there's room on either side of you to run 4K, I'm running 4K. You know, if people don't like it, I'm sure they're going to say something. And I've yet to have anybody complain up here on AM. And in fact, Skip, the guy I talked to yesterday on that Flex 6600, man, he really had it going on. He really had that Flex set up well, and I would say he's was probably a little bit wider than we are now. In fact, I still have my bandwidth opened up there from yesterday talking to him, and but you know, if we're not bothering anybody, you know, I don't know why. You know, the ham police have to come out and think that you know, if we're, you know where I'm going with that, but they're always out there. Someone's always listening, and someone's already, you know, ready to jump all over you for whatever, even though, you know, we're not bothering nobody, just, you know, wanting to play and enjoy the hobby. K1GMM, this is KD4YAL.
Yeah, exactly. What's interesting is I don't, very rarely do I have the ham police come out. But the jammers and the mentally unstable all show up. Have you seen that? They'll find a group that, it always happens to the groups that sound really, really good. When was it? I think it was yesterday, last evening. I heard one of the groups that I talk to occasionally on 40, and I just hit the tune button. Everything's locked and loaded, ready to go. I get ready to hit the key, and there he is. There he is. Total wipeout, dude. These, just a jammer throwing like this trash. I don't even know what it is. Right on top of everything. Couldn't even hear him. I was like, all right, forget it. I'm out of here. I'm off of 40. And away I went. So, yeah, that dog won't hunt, man. I don't play that game. So, anyways, Jerry, been a pleasure. I'm going to let you go, see if you can pick up some other people. I'm going to run upstairs, grab a cup of tea. I'm waiting for my wife to get home. Daughter's got Special Olympics this morning, so she's down in Manchester. So I'm going to go up. I can't believe the dog's not howling. Usually he howls, but he must know that I'm here. I can hear him sitting in the kitchen howling like a coyote when he thinks everybody's gone. Unless he can hear me. He may be able to hear me. Anyways, great to meet you. I'm going to push this up to YouTube shortly. So, it's very quiet, and it'll be fun to listen to, I think. Anyways, KD4YAL. Man, I hope to hear you again, Jerry. I'm going to be kind of a regular up here, I think, kind of perusing around. So, best regards from up here in Vermont, 7-3. All the best to the family. And congratulations on a really, really, really great sounding AM station. It's so fun to listen to good AM sound. It really is. KD4YAL, K1GMM.
K1GMM, this is KD4YL. Before you go, Steve, before I sign here, I'm kind of curious, are you using the synchronous AM while listening, or are you just straight up AM?
No, I'm using the synchronous. I switch back and forth sometimes. Go ahead.
QSL. Yeah, that's what I've been doing here. It really seems to make a big difference. So I was just curious. All right, so I appreciate all the advice that you didn't know you've been giving me through my ESSB adventure, and a lot of my audio tips that you've given out to all us hams that have been following, and that's much appreciated. You've worked pretty hard, obviously, and it was really good meeting you on 10 meters. Look forward to connecting again. And let me just hit the stop button here. Here, I'll play a little snippet here of what I was hearing from you.
Let me shut up for a second. Hang on. Okay, so I'm pushing about 40 to 50 watts on the carrier, and I'm modulating to just flip the meter over. So it's about just under 300.
So hopefully you were sounding fantastic here. Pretty solid signal, a little bit of QSB, but sounded great, Steve. And look forward to talking again. 7-3s. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll call it quits. K1GMM. This is KD4YL. 7-3s.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. 7-3. Boy, there is some guttural bottom end in there. I don't know if I like that. May go back to the drawing board. I can tamp that down a little bit. It's pretty heavy. Anyways, no bother. And the only thing I'll say is I'm glad. It makes me very happy that someone found a use for all that stuff, because thousands of hours went into that. I spent, as you know, a long time. As that thing started and then began to evolve, it was about 2 years worth of stuff. And I really didn't run the radio hardly at all. I was just working every day. That's all I worked on, was that. Trying to come up with different ideas and ways for people to, get things going. It can be horrifically complicated. I still get emails from guys like I said, asking me questions. I'm like, good Lord. So I have to say thank you for not contacting me. So you're smart enough to figure it out. I did the best I could, Jerry. Anyways, we'll see you later. 7-3, KD4YAL, K1GMM.
7-3. Thanks, Steve.
Very cool. First,
Good
10
afternoon
meter
there,
Leo
N1
contact.
ID. This is KD4YL.